Chief Minister, thank you for joining us on Stateline NT. Now, can I take you back to start with to December in Alice Springs,
Yes.
just before Christmas? Now, we saw a 2-month-old baby girl who had her skull fractured in what's alleged to be a violent home invasion.
Yes.
When you got that phone call, when you heard that news, what went through your mind at that time?
Oh, it was horrifying. I mean, you just immediately put yourself in the shoes as a parent. You send all of your thoughts and prayers and everything you can summon into that child, hope that they're okay. Often what happens when you get notification of something as horrific as that is, there's not a lot of detail, of course, because it's unfolding. So we immediately made plans to go down to Alice Springs and we left at the crack of dawn the next morning. Since that time, I've met with the Seguenza family and the little baby and all the children a couple of times, and it's been lovely. It's great that she's, on the path to recovery, but it's a traumatic, horrific event, and the community just, the outpouring of support for that family, for that child, and the outrage is 100% justifiable. And we stood with the community in that outrage, in that sadness, and took really strong action afterwards.
Well, you mentioned the outrage. You, in the aftermath of that, the next day flew down to Alice
Yeah.
Springs. You were met with what I guess would be considered confronting scenes. There were angry protesters about crime. They were shouting at you. They were calling for you to resign. They were saying you'd failed the people of Alice Springs. Do you wish you'd done something sooner?
Oh, well, when I landed in Alice Springs, I knew people would be angry and I was just as furious as them. So none of that bothered me. It's absolutely people's right to be so disappointed and angry. So I understand that frustration and that's why I went, is to stand with people in that anger.
Indigenous Australians Minister Malarndirri McCarthy has criticised your government's plan to scrap alcohol unit price restrictions. I believe you're planning to do that next week in
Yes.
Parliament. Given that will make alcohol cheaper, is it inevitable that cheaper alcohol will result in more alcohol-related crime in the Northern Territory?
Yeah, the criticism around this is really unfounded. What we know is that if you're an addicted alcoholic, a violent offender who's addicted to alcohol, you will spend whatever it takes to get your fix. And we see that, the anecdotal evidence of bottles of rum going for $700-800 in remote communities is well known across the territory.
I mean, health experts has said it will create issues though, and you can see how it looks like a contradiction. On the one hand, you're saying we're being tough on crime, we're making these changes to people being able to drink, and then on the other hand, you're offering cheaper alcohol to people. I mean, what do you say to those criticisms?
Yeah, and I guess I can see it from their perspective, but at the end of the day, if it's not working, we're not going to keep it in place.
Now, one of the first things you did in government was lower the age of criminal responsibility to 10 years old. That was met with some quite widespread criticism, including from the United Nations. How did you deal with that sort of backlash that early into your term?
We had a job to do and we made really strong commitments to Territorians, and there's no way we're backing down. And, people have their right to voice their concerns about us implementing our plans. But all of our plans have been tested in an election. Territorians have spoken, and it's not for me to second guess those items that people have voted strongly on.
We're talking about 10-year-olds though. You and I both have children who
Yes.
are nearing that age. As a parent, when you think of your own children, do you really think that a 10-year-old is capable of being criminally liable, criminally responsible for their actions?
I absolutely do, and I think the reality is most parents realise that their 10-year-old does understand the difference between right and wrong. And I wish we were talking about kids who were hungry stealing a loaf of bread. We'd be the first government to go out and buy every child the food that they need. But these are kids engaging in extremely serious, violent offending. And ultimately, we don't want to see these kids in prison, but we have to have a mechanism to get them better help.
All right, instead of just having questions from me, we did go to the streets and ask the public what they would like to ask you,
Great.
Chief Minister. So I have a video here which has a few questions. I'll get you to take a look and then I'll just get you to respond to me afterwards.
What are our plans for crime, really? And what are they going to do about fixing crime rates basically across the territory and in community as well?
Maybe the crime, yeah. It's been a bit full on at the moment. A lot of kids doing a lot of no good stuff.
Probably the question of sending kids home to families where they're obviously not safe in the first place, because they wouldn't be out on the streets if they were.
What are you doing about the crime and the domestic violence and everything? So, yeah, I think you need to step up, mate, and try and help them all.
Great. That's exactly the questions we get when we're out in community, and that's why we're here. So we moved really fast as promised with our reducing crime package in October last year, and that gave police a much broader range of powers across a range of areas. You know, we all constantly say, Amy, we want Territorians to judge us on our action, and I think this year they're going to see this is a year of action, and the end of this year will look very different to now.
You've said you'll do whatever it takes to fix the economy, but you've also said that you will not be making cuts to the public service. Now, the Northern Territory has one of the largest public service workforces per capita in the country. It's huge. Is it really realistic to think we are going to be able to rein in this debt without making cuts to that service?
It is. It's absolutely achievable. And we have 22,000 public servants who are a part of our community. They're paying mortgages, their kids are going to schools, they're buying food and groceries at the shops. And we can't afford to lose those people. We've had the worst performing economy for about 6 years now, and we don't deserve that title. The Territory has everything that this country needs, from our energy security with gas, our vast agricultural opportunities, our strategic importance in the Indo-Pacific, our tourism opportunities. I mean, the sky really is the limit for us.
Let's look at the year ahead. What are your plans and priorities for 2025, and what can Territorians expect to see change this year?
There's lots on the agenda, and we're really, really focused on making sure this year is a year of action, and it's a year of getting the framework for the Territory right. So we've done a lot of work at the end of last year, obviously leading up to Christmas, but this year's our first full year to really bed down the reform we need to drive the Territory forwards.
Chief Minister Leah Finocchiaro, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.